Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark, and what I want to do is I want to do a tutorial today on skyvector, which is a one-stop shop, if you will, for flight planning, for flight simulation. It's a real-world product. It can be used by real-world pilots. It's accepted by the FAA with proper links set up and everything like that as the FAA bona fide flight plan or flight briefing, if you will. And so, without further ado, let's get into this. How do we get to skyvector? What is skyvector? Skyvector is as follows. Okay, this is the initial link, or the initial links that you would see here. Hopefully this is small but not big, but if it is, it's okay. We'll put this back up as time goes on. The big things about skyvector very quickly. www.skyvector.com, all one word. Upper lowercase, it really doesn't matter. I guess I could modify that, couldn't I? Put it in here. Or www.skyvector.com. It really does not matter. It goes either way. We say file, we say save, we say how high, and I say done. Skyvector membership is free. All you need to do is just register for the site. But okay, and the nice thing about this is that this is a neat but, comma, it's not required. So it's absolutely free. All you need to do is just get to it. Okay, so we'll save this again because we made a modification to the file. We're good computer type people. We do that. All you got to do is go www.skyvector.com and hit a return. And welcome to the western part of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to explain this to you very quickly. I'm going to turn off some of these layers here. I had stuff lit up. We'll blow this off. We don't need all of this stuff as it goes, but I want to go through and I want to kind of show you what's going on. There you go. We'll drop this down. So how do we actually use skyvector? Okay. Well, first things first, skyvector. Okay, what is it? It allows you to basically flight plan and do things. Go into layers. I'm going to turn on the text and stuff like that, and you'll see all these little blue or all these little green dots, and dots pop up, and we'll go and explain those in a little more detail as we go through it. But what this provides you is this provides you weather information on whatever. And I'm going to zoom in because my home airport, if you will, okay, my home airport, if you will, is right around here. Okay, and as you get closer and closer and closer and zoom in tighter and tighter and tighter, you get bigger stuff. This is Los Angeles Airport. It gives me a METAR and TAF. This is Santa Ana, which is my home field. Gives us a METAR and a TAF. And what we do is we sit there and we look at the METAR here very quickly. It tells you the time. Winds are 220 at 9 knots, 10 statute miles visibility, and clear. And you know something, when I look out the window, since I'm really close to this airport, it's actually clear. It's blue outside. It's a nice Southern California day. And we're talking temperature 25 degrees, dew point of -02 degrees, that's Celsius. Altimeter is 30.02. Of course, AO2 and all that good stuff, that tells you what kind of a METAR it is. The TAF, we're going to be greater than 6 statute miles all day. Scattered clouds later on this evening. 20, what is it, 20, that's later this afternoon actually. So you kind of get the idea where we're at. Toward the evening we're going to start seeing stuff. We're supposed to see what, vicinity of fog and blowing rain? BR, what the heck, BR? Mist and fog, or yeah, okay. Vicinity of fog. Scattered at 400. It's going to be interesting. We'll see fog and stuff like that later tonight. It's going to be a foggy night. So you kind of get that very quickly as to what we're going to do. That would be early in the morning, our time, so that makes sense. But you kind of get the idea. So we've got now the origin. We can also get the destination. The nice thing about this, okay, is that this is worldwide. Okay, you'll notice that what we have up here is we have different charts. I can get the world high charts, so I can get all my routing, all of that stuff basically set out with the same kind of overlays. So that's a useful deal. Okay, I can get the nroute H4, same. That's just basically the chart strip here. I can get the world low. Gives me all the Victor airways and everything like that. If I want to do an IFR flight, which would be kind of fun today in Southern California, I can get this. You get kind of all of the different charts. World VFR, nroute low, nroute 4, Los Angeles sectional, Los Angeles fly chart. Now this is kind of an interesting deal because this shows the VFR routes through Los Angeles. Okay, and there are some, and a lot of pilots or a lot of people sit there and go, well, how do we fly around Los Angeles base in VFR? Well, here it is. Here's a good way to sit there and kind of show you what the strength of this is. These are all of the VFR fly routes through LAX. If you want to basically sit there and fly across the LA Class B VFR flight, come down here to an area that's close to us down here, Miles Square Park, and Miles Square Park straight out to Van Nuys Airport, pretty much. Goes right through it. You keep the same altitude, if you will, and you're flying. You can basically fly right across without radar, without radar, whatever. You may have to set a transponder briefing or whatnot, but you don't have to request your way through all of this. You can basically do it the old-fashioned way and say, hey, I'm going to transit to Class B and talk to Class B and talk to a SoCal controller to do that. But you kind of get the idea of what you're looking at here. Okay, all of the jet fly routes are in here. Okay, so these are the fly routes that the jets come in on. So you can basically set yourself up. This is the S-86 arrival in here. This is the Sadie arrival, 10,000 feet. Okay. So you kind of get the idea of what's going on here. This is a real neat deal. You can get a terminal area chart, same setup or same thing, if you will, a combination of a couple of different things. Okay, what are the different routes that are available to you? Coliseum, mini routes. There are a lot of mini routes in the LA area. They basically started with the Los Angeles special flight rules area. About 3 or 4 years ago, it was a special flight rules area. They've opened it up quite a bit. And the reason is because it was so successful. Where is the Los Angeles Special Flight Rules? I've done this actually in an airplane. It's kind of a neat deal. If you're down here on the south side of the airport, in the southern area down here, you come out here to the Queen's Gate. Queen's Gate is where the Queen Mary is in Long Beach. And trust me, from the air, from 6,000 feet up, you can see the Queen Mary a long way away. It's a big ship. Okay, well, she sits right down here on the dead blasted pier out here in Long Beach, and been there for many, many years. And what you do is you come out here, you fly to Queen's Gate, Queen's Mary in this area here, and you basically pick up a heading based on the Van Nuys 140 radial. And it's at 2,200 feet, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's at 2,200 feet. LA clearance or ATC is required. What is the requirement? Fixed wing, non-turbo, and mini route. Blah 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 blah. During normal tower operating hours or whatnot, you basically sit there and go right across. You have a northbound mini route. You have a southbound mini route, and it's at 2,500 feet. So if you want to get an excellent picture or an excellent deal of Los Angeles Airport, okay, you basically sit there and truck right across Los Angeles International Airport, right across the top of the runways, if you will, okay, at 2,500 feet, boop, 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 and you go right over the top of the field. So what's really neat about this is that you can basically sit there and haul buns by just sitting there and saying, hey, I'm entering the special fly area, and tiptoe through the tulips right across and say I'm out. That's the only communication you need to do, and you're into class, you're into unrestricted airspace on the other side, from 2,500 feet across the way. Kind of a neat deal. So these fly routes are really interesting, or really allow neat transit of the Class B airspace for VFR aircraft. So you can get from north to south very easily. It used to be, before these existed, if you wanted to get around, okay, being a single engine airplane, you were flying basically as far east, if you will, as Riverside, to transit around the area. Plus you had to duck around all of this stuff over here at Ontario and everything like that, then come back down the other side. You're looking at an hour's flight to get around this thing. Okay, the transit time across that VFR special fly route, if you will, okay, 15 minutes. So you're cutting almost a whole hour off your flight if you need to go from, if you say, for instance, launch from down here in Orange County, and you want to go to, you want to go up to, let's say, for instance, Van Nuys or points beyond. You want to go up to, Ojai or whatever. Okay, you can literally rip right through the LA Class B or the LA Class B at that special no-fly or that special fly zone, and you're in business. So you kind of get the idea of what this is here. All of these are the sectional charts that are available to you. There's a lot. You'll notice I'm not signed in. This is free of charge. You can basically get all of this stuff for free. And you can do, all you have to do is set zoom levels to sit there and figure out what you want to do. World high, do you want to get world high? You can do that. The nice thing about this is that if you sit there and you take a look at it, let's zoom out a little bit here. What can we do? If we zoom out, if we sit there and we zoom out of this thing, okay, here's the strength of this particular deal. I use this for flight planning worldwide. Now, you sit there and you say, okay, well, what's the deal with that? What is the big thing with that? Well, when you get out here into Africa, okay, Africa is not, if you will, a very busy or not a busy place. And what I did is I basically sat there and went through and launched through, or went and flew into Africa, Conakry. There's an airport here. Okay, it is the largest airport, if you will, in Guyana. Okay, and so when you sit down and you start looking at this or whatnot, okay, it's also the nearest point if you're doing a transatlantic. Now, I flew the Atlantic, if you will, in a 2-engine turboprop airplane. I did it in King Air, which is, by results, a small airplane originating from I blew out of Natal. I'm trying to find it. Where the hell is it? Yeah, Natal. It's on the coast here. It's somewhere around here. There it is. I came out of Natal, and one thing I want to show you, notice what happened is as we get bigger and bigger here, some go and some come. So your airport, you have to look at the zoom level. That's kind of an important deal here to make sure that you've got it. I launched out of Natal, flew from Natal, if you will, across the Atlantic, okay, into that's the Canary Islands. A little too far to the north. I went a little further to the south. The reason why I came into what was it? Conakry. Here it is. The reason why I came into Conakry, or Conakry, if you will, Conakry, was because this was basically the closest point for landfall. Now, winds were taken into account here and everything like that too. You have to understand, in King Air, that's an 8-hour flight. Okay, it's an 8-hour hop across the water, so that's a big flight. Okay, an 8-hour across the water flight for this airplane is that's a big deal. Okay, kind of an interesting, because it was the first time that I'd ever done any type of a transatlantic or transoceanic crossing, if you will. And I basically did that from a location down here That's all. Over to Chronicle. So, with that said, the bottom line here is that I had, for that particular setup or situation, the ability to sit there and see what are the SIGMETs in the area. As you can see, there's a lot of thunderstorm activity down here. This is in the lower tropics. This is below the equator. The equator is about right here. So what you have is you have a lot of subtropical weather, if you will, or tropical weather. And tropical weather has a tendency to be this type of stuff. It's isolated and embedded thunderstorms. Okay? You don't want to mess with embedded thunderstorms if you can possibly avoid it. And on top of that, we have selectable by specific specific flight level, if you will. Okay, what we're looking at in the way of winds. So as you can see, if I were going to fly this route today, I'd be sitting in a position to where I would have pretty good tailwinds all the way in. And that's what you want. You want to basically be able to set it up so that you have tailwinds. Okay. Or you can route for winds depending on what you're doing based on GPS fixes and positions and things like that. But you kind of get the idea what's going on. So wind barbs, cool deal. What can I set with wind barbs? I can set altitude levels, but I can also sit there and set, if you will, okay, I can set hours or I can set time. Okay, so what is it 80 hours from now? What are the different things? Wind barbs, kind of a neat deal. So if I want to know what winds are at, say, not 45 hours, it's a little bit unrealistic, but let's say, for instance, I want to see 9 hours winded. What are winds 9 hours? It gives you a pretty good prognostication of what the hourly weather is, and it's all interactive. That's what's really nice about this website, is that it's all interactive. Not only do I get the convective stuff, and I see in the world out there, you see convective stuff all the frickin' time. You don't see much in the way of IFR obscurations and icing and all that good stuff. You don't get that. Only in the US, only in Europe. Those are the only two places where you'll see this used a lot. Outlooks, etc., not much. Okay, if you want to see the tracks, this would have been an eastbound North Atlantic. This is below the North Atlantic. This was actually off the charts here. This is a South Atlantic crossing. I chose this because it was the closest area. If you want to cross the Atlantic Ocean, this is the closest area to do it at, right through here. You know something? It's a known airway. It's been used for years. Back immediately after the war, people were using this to basically cross the Atlantic Ocean with pretty much regularity here. Okay, it beats the heck out of trying to fly, continental U.S. to Europe proper, if you will, across the North Atlantic. The weather here be a little better. It's still a lengthy flight, but 8 hours is a heck of a lot better than 12 or 16, depending on your speed. So you get the idea here, but weather and stuff like that's kind of nice. The nice thing also here is that you don't get much in the way of radar stuff out in the world. Okay, I'll kill these off too, but if you understand or you know where you're going or what you're looking for, you can get weather radar readouts. You don't see much down out in here in South America and stuff like that. They don't do it. Okay, don't understand why, they just don't. It's a lot, but you have this, okay, and there's your basic satellite picture, okay, and a satellite picture is as good as a radar return. I mean, you can basically sit there and pick off from the satellite return your areas of convective whatever. You can lay your SIGMETs over the top of that. You can see what they're talking about here. This might be an area you might want to basically avoid if you can. I would avoid that. That looks pretty ugly. This, not such a big deal. Couple of small spaces. This stuff's big, okay, but you kind of get the idea of what you can do here. Now you sit there and you say, well, okay, those are neat. If you've got a real weather engine, okay, in your flight simulator, which you can get. There's good ones for cheap. Okay, you can get good ones for free. Good weather add-in is FXSWX, I believe is what it's called. Very good, free. You can get it at Avasim. Okay, it's a free real-world weather engine, and it does a pretty good job of driving the weather. I basically installed it after I'd gotten a little bit frustrated with the weather returns that I was getting off of FSX, worldwide, by the way. So you kind of get the idea of what's going on. There are some neat things here. Okay, if you come into Europe proper, okay, things like weather radar returns you get in Europe. Okay, they have weather returns in Europe. You come down here to Africa and you turn on weather returns or weather radar, and you'll notice there isn't much out there. The reason why is because there's nobody really monitoring it. So that's where this becomes kind of a big deal. Being able to see what's going on in the third world becomes really important. Yeah. So you kind of get the idea of what radar and satellite provide you. Air mets, okay, turbulence. You'll see this in Europe, and you'll see it also in, you might see it in Europe. You definitely see, weather radar. Okay, the weather radar stuff in Europe is used, but it's not used to the same degree as it is in the States. Okay, in the States this is fully functional. Okay, now with that done, we basically covered the kind of stuff here. It switches as you move. You kind of get the idea where you can go. We've already discussed, or we'll show you later on how to basically set up an account if you wish. Account membership doesn't get you anything. You get access to it for free without having to sign in. I just signed in because I figured, hey, I wanted to be a member, so I got into it. Gave you the ability to basically sit there and do other things. It doesn't get you anything extra. Everything that you see is available to you free of charge. Airport stuff by country. Click on the airport thing. You can get basically all of the airports in a country. Kind of a neat deal. Okay, you can browse airports by region. You could basically search for an airport by a KO code. You can get all the information that you need here. Kind of a neat thing. Come back home. We'll look at the charts in the U.S. Okay, U.S. and Alaskan area. All of the sectional charts are highlighted here. So if you want to highlight a sectional chart, you can do it. All the sectionals are basically spliced together online, and that's what gives you your VFR book. You see that. The help thing we'll talk about in a little bit later. If you are into real flying and you want to basically sit there and do what's going on, you basically sit there and say, or set it up to set or show jet fuel, show avgas if you're looking for it. That'll set up jet fuel prices. You basically sit there and see what the price per jet fuel, for a specific or in a specific airport is, so you can pick and choose where you're going. Kind of a nice deal. Yeah. So what we do is we sit there and we uncheck this. We can show this to you later on. That's in the FBO tab, by the way. So kind of understand. You can also find low lead. Low lead's kind of important if you're doing VFR flying. Expensive. And if you want to know MoGas is only one place. Get it there. You can set the different levels on the FBO stuff too. How much per US dollars? Just about anything you want. Okay. Liters or gallons. Yeah, you kind of get the idea of what you're looking at or where you're going to here. So, a lot of useful stuff here, even for a pilot. If you are doing a round-the-world flight simming, okay. If you're actually going to do an around-the-world flight sim, and this is part of the reason why I got into it in the beginning, was because in the around-the-world deal, this was by far head and shoulders above all of the good stuff. Okay, flight planning. You can basically sit there and do a flight plan if you want to, based on a tail number. If you have an airplane or whatnot, you can brief and file it. You can do the nav log stuff. You can burn out a nav log if you want to burn out one. I'm on, and with that, we can basically sit there and enter a tail number. You can do a briefing and file, which is a nice deal for an FAA deal. That's a legal FAA filing here. So because 1-800 weather brief is involved with this, or the FAA is involved with this with this user or whatever, okay, you could basically sit there and brief and file the dad blasted deal. Okay, you enter your waypoints here, you do all of that, you get your stuff. You can basically click and add waypoints as you go. So it's a totally interactive flight planning tool also. Kind of a neat thing. So it has a lot of use. If you want to sit there and build your route, you can basically sit there and build your route, cut it out of here, export it into a text file, and use that to basically sit there and set up your flight plan for your airplane, and then load that into your flight sim through your GPS. Your GPS will allow you to download stuff. Your flight management computers allow you to do that too off of your bigger add-ons. So you've got a lot of stuff here you can do. You can basically create a file here, open a plan. You can save them online. That's kind of a nice deal. So there you go. So fully functional, fully detailed. You can show a mini nav log if you want to. Turn it on. There you go. You get a kind of an idea of what's going on. Kill that. So what do you want? For free. Okay. I would imagine that in order to save something online, you're probably going to need to have an account. So we'll talk about how to set up your account. What are the important things you need to know again? Here they are. Very quickly. Killed it earlier. Okay. The initial link. www.skyvector.com or lowercase. It doesn't matter. Membership is free. You just register at the site, but it's not required. Except maybe to save files. So with that said, what we'll do is we'll sit there and we'll cut this off. One thing that I wanted to also add before I take off here is that I basically signed out, and as you can see I have the sign in stuff here now, and what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to show you in a real quick deal what we're looking at here. I'm just going to basically highlight everything real quick. And I don't normally work in this particular way or whatnot, but you get the idea of what's going on here. There's wind. Okay, so I've got everything turned on, and notice that I'm not logged in. This is free. If I want to do the pack tracks, here are the pack tracks. All of this stuff is free, and all I did was basically sit there and say, I'm here. So you don't even need to register if you don't want to, but you can. It's designed for real-world pilots, so it's a hell of a tool, and it will work for flight sim too. And there's no big deal here. This is one of the best kept secrets of if you will, what's the word I'm looking for, of aviation here. SkyVector is free. It does not require any whatever. Do you have to put up with ads being run? Yes, you do. Big deal. Okay. I do that on my iPad all the time to get use of free apps or whatnot. I'll put up with the advertising, and it's not really intrusive. So it is, it's a nice deal. With that said, okay, let's go ahead and chop down here. If you're interested and you want to set your own account up, how do you do it? Well, come on up here and play help. Let's go and hit the help deal. You have a dad blasted video here that shows you a lot of this stuff, so it's probably an overkill from what I'm doing. But here's all the stuff down here. Okay, you can basically sit there and go through, and it will give you an introduction. You can set it up. How complicated do you want to get? Work your way into it. It comes 1-800 weather brief. In the States, pilots use 1-800 weather brief to basically get what is called a flight briefing. Okay, you can basically sit there and tie into 1-800 weather brief okay, which is the FAA accepted authority here for a weather briefing, okay? And you can basically sit there and tie into it so that you get the same thing online, okay? Set your service. How do you set up your account? Here it is right here. You get your account ready. Basically click here to create one. It is free of charge, okay? If you want to use the same email you use with your profile on 1-800-WEATHER-BRIEF for the real pilot, you can do that, okay? Go to your user profile and define your user profile and set up your aircraft if you've got one, okay? Real pilots only, I think, would do this, okay? Real pilots would be required to do this, but from our standpoint here, just go in and create one. You give it a username and an email address, create your new account, and you're off to the races. I'm not going to create one because I already have. So I don't need to sit there, and you can log in and register here. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of what's going on. You can log in, you can request a new password if you wish, all of that stuff. You have to fill out the verification here so that they know that you're not some sort of a bot running around out there trying to create whatever, but that's how you create your new account. Very simple, straightforward stuff. And what you do is you go back home, bringing you back home, put you up here, and you can basically sign in by hitting the key up here on the top corner. I don't know what the links is all about. Plain text link, I would imagine you could probably set these, and you can basically sit there and get this into your website. You can also sit there and just use this to get to the site from any place else that you may want to go. So if you want to use it in a document or whatnot, there you go. That's what links are all about there. This gives you the ability to set stuff up. So, kill that, you're in business. Any other problems or conditions or whatnot, we'll sit there and we'll go through and we'll look at things in a little more detail, and we'll talk about it in a little more detail as we go. I think that this is long enough now for the use of skyvector. It is free of charge. You don't need to build an account if you don't want to. And what are the things that you need to have or should have? Here you go. Okay, we'll basically sit there. The initial link, www.skyvector.com. Membership's free. Just register at the site. I've shown you how to do that in this video, and you've got it. With that said, this is Mark. We're going to go ahead and sign off. We'll be back with part 2 and 3 and set this up so that you've got it, and we're going to basically sit there and cut these in, do a little bit of editing maybe, and put it up on YouTube so that we've got it. We'll see you all later.